one of the things that you get to do when you speak at events like this is you get to look at the people, because it's particularly not for me, and say your support and participation is critical and essential to the long-term fight against HIV/AIDS. That without your writing of checks and without your being there, these organizations would not survive. And so I really want to thank you for everything that you contributed and will contribute to these important organizations in the fight against AIDS. And thank you so much for being here. So Seattle has a very, very special place in my heart. This is where I came up. This is where I learned about life. This is where I learned about politics. Sitting next to my dad is my friend Jeff Sakuna. Jeff and I were, stand up, Jeff. And Jeff and I used to live together with a group of guys at 235 Belmont East, and we called it the Ranch. And we were young, we were gay, and we were part of that first generation of gay men who could live our lives completely out of the closet. And it was this amazing and extraordinary experience. When Jeff and I had dinner last night, and I told him I was going to talk about something that we did together that I hold very fondly. Now, if you're over 50, you will remember this, and if you're under 50, you have to ask the other people at your table. There used to be a club here in Seattle, an infamous club, called the Monastery. And you would go to the monastery at 2 o'clock in the morning, and you would come back probably 10 o'clock the next day. And I had never been to the monastery in my entire life, I swear, until I met Jeff. And Jeff took me to the monastery, and we danced. And we danced with a freedom and an abandonment that, looking back, are some of my fondest memories of the city of Seattle. Because this was right before the plague. This was right before it all changed for us. You know, for people of my generation, it is almost impossible to describe the years between 1981 and 1996. I was here in Seattle at the beginning of those times. I used to own a very chic and trendy beauty salon. It was called Akios, and I had 15 staff, and we were all wonderful and fun and young, and 5 of my staff died of AIDS. We were one small business on Capitol Hill. And I look back at that time, and what had been all nights at the monastery became all nights in the hospital. What was laughing joyously with friends as you planned a dinner became crying with friends as you planned a memorial. What was figuring out how you will spend the rest of your life became, how do we make the last moments of his life comfortable? It is almost impossible to describe and be in that experience. You had to have been there to understand. And I know that many of you here were part of that experience. Many of you here were part of that moment where you had to ask yourself, why? Why did this happen? Why did so many people die? What happened? And I look back on it, and I still don't know the answer. And I think that I'm a part of a group of people who came through that time period, and we're kind of messed up right now. You know, we live our lives every day as normally as we can, but behind us, we carry the sadness and the loss of so many dear friends. Tom Rasmussen came and said hello to me recently, just before the dinner started, breakfast started. And you know, Tom's on your city council. and he's a very important person here in the city. I so don't know Tom that way. Tom used to drive this Porsche. It was the prettiest Porsche in the world. And he was dating one of the guys in my house. And he would drive up in his Porsche, and my friend Paul would run out into it, and we would look out from the window and we'd be so jealous. Look, he has a Porsche. and it was really great to see you, Tom, because we get to remember Paul. We get to remember the man who had these amazing children who changed our lives. And I think we all have a Paul in our lives. We all have somebody whose death changed us forever. So in 1996, Dr. David Ho talked about protease inhibitors. And it completely changed the equation. In 1996, for the first time in this epidemic, we found hope. We found a belief that maybe we can live with this virus. And we spent the next 15 years trying to figure out how and what we can do to live with HIV. Well, in 2011, we are at an extraordinary point in this epidemic. And it seems unbelievable that I can say this. But we're at a moment in this epidemic where we can end the epidemic. And that is unbelievable to me, and so perfect that the people who had to fight the disease in the early days would be the same people who could see it over. There was a study released called 052, and it was an HIV prevention study. And what it did was it looked at seral discordant couples. And what that means is one of the people in the couple is HIV positive, the other is HIV negative. If we were able to get the HIV positive person onto drug treatment and their viral load reduced to undetectable, we reduced the transmission of HIV/AIDS by 96%. That was completely unheard of and something that we never ever planned for. And what we realized is that if we get enough people in our community to be at an undetectable viral load, we can end AIDS in our community. I mean, think about that for one moment. Think about what it's going to take to be in that moment when we can end AIDS. There's a beautiful young man at my table named Isaac. Oh, did he leave?
He's at another table.
And you know, Isaac, I don't know where you are, but this is what I hope for you. I hope that you get to be a part of a generation that doesn't have AIDS. I hope that you get to be a part of a generation that will never have to understand the kind of loss and sorrow that we experienced, because you have such a bright and loving spirit that I hope the gift from my generation to yours is the end of AIDS. But it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be quick. Dr. Julio Montaner, the doctor who created this study, said that it's going to probably take around 50 years for this to end. And I jokingly told him, well, doctor, in 50 years, I ain't going to be here. Can we make it 25? I mean, I may still be in a wheelchair and drooling, but I'll probably still be here in 25. And I say that to all of you because what are you doing for the next 25 years of your life? Can you think of anything better than to commit the rest of your life to ending this epidemic? It is possible. For the first time in a long time, I have hope. I believe. And I need for all of you to believe too, because one person can't push the rock up the hill. It's going to take all of us. And unfortunately, it's happening at a time when America is broke. It is happening at a time when we don't have the resources we need. It is happening at a time when there are over 8,000 people on an ADAP waiting list. And so your participation, your sponsorship, your involvement, your donations, your volunteering to these organizations is more critical than ever. They need your help to end the AIDS epidemic. And what a great way to go out. So thank you all so much for being here this morning, and thank you for everything that you do to fight HIV/AIDS.